Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to have this bill before us, and its time has come, and time came a long time ago. I want to recognize Mr. Blumenauer, who with me has been a sponsor of these type of bills for at least 15 years. Really, Mr. Blumenauer preceded me in Congress, although my work was even in the state Senate in Tennessee and before that. I'd like to remember Maurice Henchy, who was a leader in trying to get marijuana descheduled and change that. Dana Rohrabacher, a Republican, was a leader, and he saw the need to reschedule marijuana, and he was an advocate. I know Mr. Massey was big on hemp, and it's a cousin. But the bottom line is the war on drugs was a failure, and marijuana is less harmful to our society than alcohol by far, and nicotine. And it should not be a Schedule I drug, never should have been a Schedule I drug. And it was only put there years ago because of antiquated thinking, if you call it thinking, to try to get people angered and direct their anger at Latinos, and African Americans, and later at white hippies. That's what Nixon did. That's what Harry Anslinger did in the 30s. That's what Nixon did in the 70s, was to get people to get upset with his enemies who opposed the war in Vietnam, and Anslinger needed a job. And they found a way to criminalize marijuana in such a way that people looked at it as just something that musicians did, African-American musicians, jazz musicians, Hispanics did, and then later white hippies did. They tried to disenfranchise them, take away their rights by convicting them, putting them in jail, and they were fodder for a criminal justice system gone astray. The fact that this bill gives money to African Americans to get into the business of marijuana is right, because otherwise it's going to be simply Caucasian business, and that's what it is. African Americans are disproportionately affected by the arrests, as were white, quote unquote hippies, and they were bludgeoned. Schedule I is heroin, ecstasy, methamphetamines. Marijuana is not in that class. I was shocked to hear Mr. Jordan's comments. This is someplace we should have bipartisanship, and we had it with Dana Rohrabacher, and we had it with some Republicans. We had it with Matt Gaetz. Matt's been a leader on this. There have been a lot of Republicans who over the years have joined with us to make this more of a bipartisan approach. I remember a time I was on an airplane flying back from Nashville, and I was a state senator, and a guy said to me, he said, "You know, Senator Cohen, I don't support a lot of what you do, but I like your positions on marijuana and pets." Of course, I had a bubble go over in my head of him getting high and playing with his kitten or his dog. But that's something we could be bipartisan on. Pets and pot. And we should be, because it's just Americans have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And people who are smoking marijuana, part of what they're doing is the pursuit of happiness. And for the government to put them in jail and take away their rights, and as we know, they can't get food stamps, can't get college scholarships because of marijuana convictions, that's absurd. Just totally absurd. So this bill is an effort in the right direction. It's a justice bill. And just about every time people have voted on this, they voted for it, to decriminalize marijuana, to legalize marijuana, to make it used for medical marijuana. You got states like Louisiana that hadn't let the people vote, but if they would let the people vote, it would be 2/3 for it. It's 2/3 to 3/4 everywhere. So to my Republican colleagues, come into the 21st century on something. And this is a place where citizens, I think Colorado has shown it, they voted for marijuana. It's legal there, it's a business. And it really hadn't affected the Denver Broncos' performance. It hadn't affected the crowd's performance. Mr. Buck, would you like me to yield?
I appreciate that.
And it'll help our grocery stores.
I appreciate the work we're doing together, and I was just looking for some more. I love pets, and I'm wondering what you're doing on pets that I could join you on.
We've got a whole bunch of bills, and I'll send them over to you. We're good on pets, and we're good on pot.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman yields back. For what purpose?